Alright, here we go. We have another game. I'm top tier, tier 9. We have 3 tier 9s on both teams. Two actual tier 9 tanks. I'm going to pause the replay real quick. 2 tier 9 tanks. On our team we have the M103, me and the Centurion 7-1. I actually really enjoy this tank. The British mediums seem to be very well balanced, and they cater to hold down gameplay, which I'm really a huge fan of. Decent mobility, decent gun handling, pretty damn good penetration. Then we also have 2 tier 9 artillery pieces, one on each side. On our side we have the GW Tiger, and on the enemy team they have the Batchat 155-55. That's a very dangerous artillery piece, very fast reload, but relatively low alpha damage, but they can still splash you for a hell of a lot. The enemy team also has 1 tier 9 heavy tank, the VK4502B, very dangerous German tank, and then they have a WZ120, a pretty dangerous tier 9 Chinese light tank, or not light tank, medium tank rather. Both teams have a handful of tier 8s, and then about 5 tier 7s. Each side has 3 scouts, 2 artillery pieces, 3 tier 7 scouts, 2 tier 7 artillery pieces, and then also 2 tier 7, or actually no, I just realized the enemy team just has a tier 7 tank destroyer, but we have 2 tier 8 tank destroyers, one of which is very dangerous, the Scorpion G, very dangerous German tank destroyer. Something to keep in mind. So usually when you're playing this map, the heavy tanks tend to kind of go to this area, this whole section of the map down here, and then you get the mediums and the lights that go through here. Sometimes you'll get lights that just try to go through a scouting run down the middle and either loop around the back of the castle, which is extremely dangerous and very risky, or they'll just come to this rock right here and run a loop around it and then go back to the base and either loop around to support the southeast flank or poke around and try to annoy the heavy tanks that are sitting over on the northwest over here. So you can see right at the beginning of the match, I'm taking off, pulling ahead of the pack. I'm actually racing this guy right here in the T-54 Mod 1, a very, very nice tier 8 Soviet premium tank. I also have one of those. Some of my best games I actually play in that thing. The T-29 actually being funny at the beginning of the game there, saying that he's loading sticks of butter instead of actual shells. The T-29 seems to be extremely very RNG based. You can see right at the beginning the M41 Bulldog takes an aggressive scouting position, pushes the hill, gets a shot into my flank, but we have our M41 Bulldog pulling forward as well. I don't know if the Mod 1 was actually hit there, but the artillery shot is going after me, and I actually pull in front of him to try and block any further shots that are coming, just because I have the higher health pool, and he is a little bit more fragile than I am. Just pulling forward, aggressive position here, trying to get forward. If anything happens, I can pull back behind the rock or try to push forward, go into that little gully leading onto the bridge that is right over there, which you can see at the top of the screen now. Here you see I'm just kind of waiting. I don't want to push forward because I don't want to get tracked, and I would like a little bit more support ideally, but it doesn't really look like I'm going to get any. Our Bulldog is sitting at the hill that he started off at. I take a sneaky shot across the AMX 1390, but I realize that they're flanking around that building. Artillery takes another shot at me. Not sure if that was the Lorraine or the Batchat that I mentioned earlier. I'm very worried about them coming around that side of that building, but I'm also trying to stay already safe, and sure enough they do. I snap a shot into the front drive wheel, but he snaps a shot into my fuel tank, which is not good, because if he happens to hit those again, he will set me on fire, and that'll do a lot of damage. And I don't really feel like losing that much health now. Unfortunately, that T-54 Mod 1 is kind of struggling right now. He's getting hit quite a bit. He seems to be he's probably pretty new to the vehicle. He probably doesn't quite know its armor capabilities yet. That's another tank that if you can get hold down, it's pretty much a monster. But Right now I'm falling back. I realize I have no support. The enemy tank, I'm not quite entirely certain what that is. That's a Type 59, another very strong hold-down tank. But I can see just a little bit of his hull. He misses me, and artillery takes a snap at me. It goes long, actually almost hits the tanks to my right, the Bulldog, as well as the Charioteer, Tier 7, or rather Tier 8 British tank destroyer. You can see the Charioteer as well as the Bulldog taking shots at the enemy tanks, threatening our cap right now. The WZ-120, who I just pumped a shot into. I hit his tracks. He's immobilized, and he's an easy target for our tank destroyers as well as our artillery. So now it's pretty obvious that we've won the hill. We took out the 2 enemy tanks that were up here, the T-59, or actually not the the Type 59, but I actually just took him out. But we took out the T-32, which was the very first enemy that I pumped a shell into the drive wheel. So now we have reclaimed the southeastern flank. Moving forward now, got to avoid artillery, don't want to get spotted. If I do get spotted, they will put shots into me. God damn, if only I could play this game. Or if only I could play Overwatch as well as I can play this game. Let's see, we're moving forward. They have their Tier 7 American tank destroyer there, the T-25 Mark II, rather. I put a shot into him, but he disappears just before the shot leaves the barrel. We won't know if I actually hit him, and now that he's respotted, I do know for a fact I hit him. Pump another shot into the top of his turret. He puts a shot into our Charioteer, but then gets taken out by the Charioteer in return. Obviously not a very good trade-off. You don't want to be pumping shots into somebody if they can kill you in one shot in return, and it doesn't really matter how much damage you do to them. If they kill you, it's game over. You instantly, pretty much, you have no hope. That's all there is to it. You can see here that the enemy Tier 9 artillery, the Batchat, is trying to make a run, but there is a little depression in the ground over there that he's kind of hiding behind. I'm worried about the enemy heavy tanks to the north. Our Scorpion G is spotting our cap. You can see him way up here in the top hand of the mini-map. He doesn't seem to see anything, though, which is kind of scary, because if the enemy tanks were going towards our cap, he would have spotted them, and my radio would have picked them up. Which leads me to believe that they're either very slow, or they are turning around to come back to defend their own cap, realizing the threat that has arisen from the southeast flank. So it's very common in this game. The meta is kind of, generally one flank wins, and then the other flank loses for each team. So in this case, we won the southeast flank. However, the enemy team won the northwest. And now, my worst fear has kind of come alive as the enemy tanks are pushing back forward. I almost have a shot on their 1390. Don't quite have it, though. Their IS-3 pumps a shot into me, misses my wheel. I'm worried about getting hit by them. I'm trying to get out as fast as possible, trying to put as much ground between us as possible. I actually lock on to the IS-3, fire over the back of the tank, miss him, but the other IS-3 actually ends up hitting my gun. But now, I'm in a much superior position to defend our own cap. I can be hull down and he can't actually get me because he's just going to bounce off my turret. You can see it there. I repair the gun which was damaged. Always a good idea to have an accurate gun, because it doesn't matter how good your damage is. If you can't hit anything, it doesn't mean anything. You can't do damage unless you hit whatever you're trying to shoot at. So here the IS-3 is kind of scaring me, but that 1390 takes top priority because he has the highest damage potential as of right now in this game. It's not looking very good because the enemy VK4502B is challenging our cap, and our Scorpion B is kind of sitting by waiting. He doesn't. I mean, I respect him in this kind of a situation because he's afraid. He does not want to get derped by their VK. Because then it's a guaranteed loss. I think what he's trying to do is wait it out. I believe he's going to try to reset the cap. If you damage somebody that's in the capture zone, it resets the amount of capture that they have. So he has 80 points of capture, but if our Scorpion hits him, it's going to reset, and he's going to have to capture the entire base again. So right now I'm actually hunting down the AMX, but you can see I actually spot the Bulldog behind me trying to sneak up back when I was in this hold down position down here in the south where he actually is right now. But you can see I need to get back up there. Yeah, so now I see the 1390 snap a shot, not fully aimed, managed to hit him, which is good because I do not want him going after my Scorpion. Right now the Scorpion is the only thing keeping this game going, because if that Scorpion dies, our chances of winning this game are pretty much done. But I can see this Bulldog is firing very fast. However, he's panicking a little bit. He's bouncing shots off my turret when he just needs to be aiming down at my hull. You can see right there at the end, he kind of manages to sneak one in, and I believe the first shot he fired also managed to go in. But our Scorpion's doing a fantastic job of harassing that VK. Unfortunately, the M41 Bulldog on the enemy team managed to damage my gun again. And I believe earlier I was having fun with the T29 in chat there from the beginning of the game, who had said he replaced his ammo with sticks of butter by saying I replaced my gun with a t-shirt cannon. You can see there I'm asking how much health the enemy 4502 has, because I want to know what kind of ammunition to load. If he doesn't have much of any health, then I'm just going to load high explosive. The thing with high explosive is it doesn't have to penetrate to do damage, but it's not going to do that much damage. So if he only had a little bit of health, I'd shoot high explosive. Doesn't matter how he's angling or how he's using his armor, I'm going to do a little bit of damage, and it might be enough to finish him off. But he says the enemy has 400 points of damage, which means my gun does an average of 390 hit points of damage per shot, which means I have just under a 50-50 chance to actually kill him in one hit. You can see there I'm trying to see what the Scorpion's up to. He's trying to provide eyes above, but this area is so filled with trees it's so hard to get eyes on. But you can see he's actually right below him there. So I managed to sneak a shot in. So he did actually have a little more than 400. I roll high for 414, I believe it was. The VK actually manages to kill our Scorpion. I believe he rammed him to death, actually, because how light the Scorpion actually is. Here I'm aiming. I try to put a high explosive shell into him. It doesn't quite connect. It must have flown just over his head. But here, yet again, the British tanks, 10 degrees of gun depression. I'm in a hold down position. I put a high explosive shell into the front of his turret, and he gets taken out of the game. GG's for everyone. But yeah, so that match I ended up walking away with 5 kills, and I believe that is another 4K damage game. I believe just over 4K. I can't quite remember the specifics. I'm gonna see if I'm actually gonna go over this again and check how much exactly I did, see if I can add it all up. But yeah, I managed to walk away. Pretty profitable game. Again, just if you're top tier, your priority needs to be to just try to do as much as you can for the team. As top tier you are, the stronger tanks on your team. If you've got 3 tier 9s, you've got to work your ass off and make sure you carry your weight as a tier 9, because if you don't, you are letting the team down. The tier 8s just can't quite compete with tier 9 gameplay, I mean, they can, but it's, if it was a tier 9 tank, rather a tier 8 tank at the end there, one of our heavies, for example, like our IS-3 or our T-32, they would have struggled with that VK. Just purely because they wouldn't have had the armor to contest his gun, and they wouldn't have had the penetration to contest his armor. So that kind of wraps it up, Another 4,500 damage game, 5 kills, Centurion 7-1 tier 9 game. All in all, not too bad.